Hey there. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the 1-0 podcast. I'm Avery Hill.
I'm Will Horseman.
I decided to do a new intro because there's a lot of new. Penn State just held its first open practice, open meaning, to the Penn State media today, as in Thursday. It was a hot day. Penn State practice in the mornings. A lot of very new things, and that's really what we're going to discuss today. Again, went to this first practice, got to see the entire period of practice. What was kind of your biggest takeaways? What was kind of, something new that was very interesting to you, Will?
I mean, the first thing is just practice just being in the morning, because that's obviously a pretty, stark contrast from how James Franklin did things. I mean, it was always in the late afternoon under James Franklin, but now practice in the mornings under Campbell. I mean, he's talked about all the benefits of just starting the day right and having giving its players a good way to start off their days. And I think it looks like the players they all kind of like this change, at least the guys who played for Penn State under Franklin and now under Campbell. They've had some good reviews for it. And then I think it's also just interesting to see it's some of the players, they were talking about how they had classes during the day and then they'd show up to practice already kind of mentally tired, but with practice in the morning, that's not an issue anymore. So I think that's pretty interesting to see with Penn State's practices now. But then otherwise, I mean, it looks different in the sense of under Penn State's practice with James Franklin, it was offense in white, defense in blue, but now it's flipped. So it's kind of a little. It takes a little bit of an adjustment to get used to looking at that. And quarterbacks were also in the purple jerseys, but I mean, we got a early look at how all this brand new roster basically kind of is taking shape early on in spring practice.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of very interesting takeaways. You mentioned the purple jerseys. I mean, obviously the regular. I'm bad at my blue shades. I know I have this is kind of a baby type of blue. Yeah. It's a little more blue than this baby blue. But, the other jerseys, those are the former non-contact jerseys. That's what I think I've seen a few players still wearing that blue jersey. I don't know if that was the exact one from last year. Either way, very different to have purple in comparison to a different shade of blue. Very random. I mean, I don't, maybe we'll ask Matt Campbell about that one day. Hey, why? What is the strategy behind this? But, yeah, a lot of new. As we mentioned, we got the entire period of practice, kind of got to look around, and things just looked entirely different. I'll say for me personally, especially from this past season, I'm used to going into, especially on the indoor practice, which also not sure why they did indoor practice. It was very nice outside.
Yes.
There's obviously a strategy behind that, though I will say that when it's very nice outside and you have a lot of guys sweating, that creates some sort of odor. So I had to sit through that for about 2 hours. It's okay. I've been in the locker room before. That's how things go. It is football. But, I mean, I just think it was a lot of very different things. Obviously, we don't get to usually see the whole period of practice. But, I would usually walk down the sideline, and I'll look at the running backs. It's very different now with Savon Huggins in comparison to Stan Drayton and Jaywan Sider the years before. You kind of look at, some of the different drills that they're doing. Even one of the sleds, I'm not completely sure, but it looked very new to me. I'm usually used to seeing them with the sleds with the individual jerseys, but it looked like basically one big sled. Everyone lines up, obviously all has to pull their weight, push the sled, a lot of different things that we saw out there. And then you obviously had a lot of players that we were able to see for the first time or for the first time in a while. One of them being Max Granville. He did not actually participate in practice from what I saw. Most of the time he was on the side kind of doing sprint work, things like that. Alex Mansky, who reportedly will be missing, I don't know if it was the entirety of spring ball, but will be missing a good chunk. I did not spot him there. That is an interesting, obviously, development. You look at the quarterback room, you have him, you have Connor Berry from the Division III, Christopher Newport, you have Peyton Falzone, of course, Case Evans, the freshman. It is a very interesting dynamic in the quarterback room, and I think that's going to be very interesting. I think something that I wanted to kind of spotlight anyway in terms of as we move into the season. Obviously, you have the starting quarterback, which is going to be Rocco Becht. Obviously, I mean, he's really just going to be throwing on air. He obviously was there. He participated in everything like that. He just, he won't be doing much contact. I don't think any contact for this spring period per Matt Campbell. But that QB2 battle, it's important. It's not just before the sake of backing up Rocco Beck. Rocco Beck basically has one season left. After this season, you're obviously looking to build on that, and this quarterback room is clearly very intentional. You, again, bringing in Peyton Falzone, who, is a guy that decommitted from Penn State and recommitted along with Jackson Ford. Jackson Ford was already committed, but became the two signees for Penn State on National Signing Day while everything looked, kind of, I guess, in limbo. People didn't really know what was going to happen, with the entire program at that point. And, you get guys like that. You get Case Evans, who was, an Iowa State commit. You get Connor Berry, who I'm not completely sure how many years of eligibility he has, but you're getting a lot of guys with some time to grow, some time to kind of put things together, and it was kind of interesting to see them all out there. I'm used to seeing Drew Aller and Ethan Grunkemeyer and Jackson Smolik. Jack Lambert was still there. Jack Lambert is still holding down the fort. Obviously, walk-on quarterback. Beckham Kritza, like guys like that. All those guys are gone, have departed from the program. So it's very different. I remember talking to some guys at Pro Day, and they're like talking about how different it is just walking around. Like, you don't know these guys, and even for us, like, you kind of look like, obviously we have a roster sheet, we kind of look around like, okay, here's so and so, but then sometimes you'll look and you're like, okay, I'm not exactly sure who that is. And I think kind of on that same accord, I think another thing I wanted to spotlight is the offensive line. If you take one look through the Penn State roster on Go PSU Sports, you'll see like that line has gotten huge. Listed weights, I believe the highest one is around 339, 340. Donnie Harbor, who played left guard in the practice reps that I saw. You can look at guys like Kwal, who is 6'6", but he's listed at, I believe, 290-something pounds. You can tell he's kind of a more slender build. Younger guy, played last or was a freshman last season, but highly touted by some recruiting outlets. And, guys like that. I mean, it'll be very interesting to see, how this all comes together. You have some big guys on that offensive line, guys, again, getting bigger, on both sides of the line, actually. But, both sides getting bigger, trying to put these things together. And I just think it'll be very interesting to see how everything turns out.
Yeah, I mean, we got to see like maybe a little sneak peek in what the depth chart kind of is a little bit right now, because like at quarterback, Rocco, I mean, he participated in like the non-con or like the limited role, but it's like when it was like they had some first team reps, it was Connor Berry who was taking the first team reps with Beck and Mansky sideline. So I mean, it's with Mansky like not playing in spring ball or at least missing a large part of it. It's like I think Barry's probably in a position where he could just take a lead into like a QB2 battle, because he's kind of like a veteran presence in that quarterback room behind Beck. I mean, right now it's like there's not a whole lot of collegiate experience besides Beck at like the Division I level. So Barry, I mean, he was like a semifinalist for the Division III Heisman Trophy. So
big honor, right? By the way,
yes, a big honor there. But yeah, it's just like he can. It would be. I mean, it would also be interesting to see just like maybe like what Penn State kind of prioritizes in like a backup quarterback this year. Because yes, like Barry might be like say like the most qualified for like a backup role, but it's like also, do you want to maybe instead of giving Barry like garbage time reps in games next fall, do you give it to Mansky, Falzone, or like those like younger guys and just get them some game experience under their belts in their first seasons when Beck's just like when Beck goes out in like garbage time or whatnot. And because if remember, like Drew Aller played a ton in his freshman year backing up Sean Clifford, and I think a lot of people were attributing how important that was for like his own development, like heading into his senior year, just getting all those reps his freshman year. So I mean, yeah, we'll see what happens there, but for now it's like Barry taking the first team reps. I think at running back it was Carson Hansen and then James Peoples and Quentin Martin. It's definitely a position battle, like kind of up for grabs there, because obviously Nick Singleton, Katron Allen, they're both off to the NFL. So it's going to be brand new starters and just production out of that room. So see what happens there. And then on the offensive line, I think it was Brock Riker taking first-team center reps in front of Dom Ruley, who's kind of also got a chance to earn the starting job there. I mean, he started in the Pinstripe Bowl, and the offensive line as a whole kind of got a lot of credit for that win. So he's really seems to have a chance, but it's like Riker had the first-team reps there. At tackle, I believe it was Malachi Goodman at left tackle, and then right tackle was Garrett Sexton. So I mean, yeah, it's got to see a little bit of a kind of a peek into what the depth chart could be right now.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are going to realize there are a lot more questions than we might have thought it was, before the season. I kind of mentioned this at psucollegian.com. Again, you can go to psucollegian.com, hit football. We had 4 surprise or bold predictions going into the season. I'm not going to spoil mine, but I do think that there are a lot more questions to answer for Penn State within their own staff than many think. I think when you kind of go into the season, looking at everybody that's kind of been brought in, especially the wave Iowa State players, it's like, oh, okay, these Iowa State guys, especially, the ones that are actually starting caliber, will be, slotted into their positions. Your Penn State starters, especially the top tier ones, will also, get those starting roles or compete for starting roles. And then everyone else, you kind of just figure it out. But I think we could see some wrinkles. I think that one that stood out to me today is, I believe it's Karen Brookins. I'm not the best with pronunciation, Karen, I believe. But, I mean, he was taking, I believe, first-team reps at receiver.
Yeah, it's him and Kobe.
Yeah, exactly. Him and Kobe Howard. I think he has some good size. I mean, I think that he has his physical tools could, really elevate him into a role this season. I mean, of course, that also came with Brett Eskelson, who was also pretty much limited. I don't think I saw him practice. I saw him, on the side kind of doing some injury work, but or some sprint work and stuff like that. But I don't think we kind of saw him as a full participant, or he definitely wasn't a full participant. But yeah, there's a lot of questions worth answering, and then there's also players that maybe we thought in the past, oh, these guys aren't playing. Is it this year? Is it next year? And some of them are very young. One being Malachi Goodman. Talking to him, he's like I came here and I was 17 years old. A lot of people might have wondered last season why he didn't get just about any reps. He was 17. I don't know when he turned 18, but he's currently 18 right now, which is ridiculous for a sophomore in college. Highly touted recruit, of course, and he's getting bigger. He talked about adding 15 pounds, putting it all together. I think that he's the type of guy, especially with his size, his skill set coming out of high school. He's a guy that could be your starting left tackle forever. I'm not talking about just college. I think that he has a lot of potential to translate this to the NFL level. And I think, that comes with using his size. He's 6'6". He talked about, getting, I guess, the mental side of the game together. He said he picked up the playbook pretty well. And I think, his background kind of helps him that, coming from a highly touted high school, things like that. I think that kind of helped him, adjust. But it's also, just getting to play the college football. College football is different. High school football and college football honestly aren't the same. I think it'll be very interesting to kind of see, a lot of these different guys and their adjustment, and not just, guys from, your high school to college, but even these transfers. I mean, you talk about Connor Berry, which he had his first season at Appalachian State. I believe he just didn't even make it to the season. I don't think he even used a year eligibility, but he had his time at Appalachian State before he went to Christopher Newport. You can talk about Keith Jones Jr., who is coming from Grambling State. That is a big jump. And I mean, I think overall, I mean, you're going to see a lot of guys, making that adjustment. You might see some guys that stand out, some guys that fit better in this scheme than they did, elsewhere. And I think it'll be a really fun spring to watch. I, personally think that a lot of these surprises will be cool. Just to kind of see, just new faces. I think one that stood out to me, which isn't a surprise, but just a face that I thought, made some nice plays. I know the safeties were kind of doing drills to jump passes, intercepted. Marcus Neal, I thought he's known as this playmaker. He's known as, a player that will go out and, get your interceptions, get the ball for the team, get the takeaway. He is a high energy guy, a high high profile guy, really. Like, you're going to know Marcus Neal is on the field. You know, he made a nice play. Obviously, you know, just drills, you know, not anybody, because I can't, but, you know, most people can, especially most college safeties, can catch balls and drills. But he showed some really nice hands. I thought his hands looked really strong, which is, you know, something that not everyone has. I mean, I think in general, it kind of not reminds me of Kyron Hudson, because he's a totally different build, but in the similar sense that Kyron Hudson is known for his very strong hands, his ability to kind of make those plays, I think that Marcus Neal really has the chance to do so. And I think that kind of brings me to the defensive side of the ball. We obviously got to see a whole new, you know, crew on defense, not just in players, but staff for the most part. Ikaika Malloy, of course. Obviously, Dan Connor still there in his assistant linebackers coach role, but, you know, you do have Tyson Vate now coming from Cincinnati, Deion Broomfield in the defensive backfield, and obviously Terry Smith was there still, of course, you know, with the cornerbacks and everyone, and I think it'll be a very interesting dynamic. I think it'll be interesting to see how they kind of fit together. I mean, Will, what did you think of the defense? And I know you talked to, you know, some of the defense as well, or Deion Broomfield after practice. I mean, what did you think? What do you think about what they're trying to put together for this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big takeaway is, like, with obviously there's a lot of new coaches, a lot of new transfer players, so a lot of like moving parts like coming into the program this offseason. So as they're trying to like install D'Anton Lynn's like new scheme, it's like I think the big like takeaway or what they're trying to do is they're doing what's called like they're doing what Lynn calls like obnoxious communication. It's just ensuring that like every single person on that defense is on the same page, knows what they have to do, like for whatever play, knows what they have to do, what they have to execute, whatever they need to do to like have a successful play and prevent like an offense from maybe scoring a touchdown or something. Because Deion Broomfield, he talked after practice, it's like if you allow a player or if you let a player not be 100% sure what they're trying to do, they might just end up assuming what to do. And if they assume wrong, that could lead to an offense scoring a touchdown. So I think that's kind of just the interesting part, because like they're trying to like obviously just install Lynn's new scheme and then just create like a chemistry for the entire defense, because a lot of new faces and new people both on the staff and on the players on this defense.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, as you kind of go into the season, you're really going to see how this defense fits together. I think something interesting to point, not just with the defense, but overall, is that you're bringing in a new staff, which means new philosophies. That means everyone does things the same. I know for Ikaika Malloy, his thing is kind of just however you learned it, flip it and do it that way. Like, and it's something that like sounds jarring, like it sounds like, oh, there's a right way to do this, there's a wrong way to do this, which it may be in some way when you talk about technique and how to do things. But, you know, for different coaches, what works is what works. What you want to do, whether it is football, I know for me, whether it's for me in bowling, like you want to do what you can do the best way that you can do it. You look at a quarterback and you look at the guys that sidearm it. That is an unconventional way to throw. Obviously now it kind of seems conventional because everyone's doing it. You're Pat Mahomes of the world. You're Lamar Jacksons of the world. But it's not the conventional way to throw. Is it right? Is it wrong? It's just kind of how football is, and it's very interesting to see. I think that you look at, you know, Ryan Clanton and his, you know, he wants dogs. Like he has the cut off sleeve dogs. I mean, you look at him, he's tatted up. Like that's, you know, this is a guy that emphasizes being violent. This is a guy that emphasizes, you know, making plays, you know, like really protecting your quarterback, really becoming, you know, a force on the offensive line, and obviously that reflects in, you know, guys putting on weight, things like that. And again, this is not like a right or wrong thing, which even he said it's not about, you know, being right or wrong. It's the way they do things. You want guys to fit into your scheme, because like you can look at Phil Troutwayne, and I personally still believe that he is, if not the best, one of the best offensive line coaches in the country. Obviously we saw a lot of struggles with this Penn State offensive line in the past season, 2025 season, but I think what stood out with him is his ability to develop. You look at how the Penn State offensive line grew since, you know, the early days of James Franklin through, like, you know, Rasheed Walker up to getting Phil Troutwayne, where you get your Olu Fashanu, where you know, get your Vanga Iwane and things like that, and you're able to pull in these highly touted recruits. I think all of that's really mattered, and I think it'll be kind of interesting just to see how guys fit into that philosophy. Because of course, if you're a guy that was at Penn State before, you now have to fit into a philosophy that you may have never discovered that you'd be. Obviously, some guys, like some of the quarterbacks, even Drew Lailah talked about having a relationship with Matt Campbell and stuff. But some guys were never recruited from Iowa State, whether it's from where you were recruited from, your prestige as a recruit, things like that. Guys never really got exposed to that. But the reviews have been positive. Malachi Goodman said he's kind of liked everything new. Cooper Cousins has turned in positive reviews, and he's trying to take that step up as a leader. So, I mean, I think it'll be interesting to kind of see, how everyone's able to fit into that philosophy and, how guys are, gelling together, because that is an important thing. Again, when you have so many different things, it's so important that they gel together and they don't get an extra year. It's not like, oh, this is 1 year to get it together. No. Seniors, don't matter if you're a senior or freshman, anything. This is 1 year. You take it 1 year at a time. You want to get everything together as hard as it can be. It's been done. Teams, especially now in the transfer, teams have been able to do that, and it is very important for them to gel. And this is the time to do it. It's spring ball, 2 practices in, and I guess we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say just to bring this up, it's maybe the one concern with a bunch of these injuries that are popping up. Matt Campbell's said that he anticipates everyone to be a full go. I believe that's his wording. He said full go for fall camp, but I think if these injuries are kind of stacking up a little bit in spring ball, and it's when you're losing these 15 practices, you're just missing out on just the opportunities just for everyone on the team to grow and gel together and create a bond with everyone. So I think that could be interesting to see maybe how that impacts the summer, the fall camp, and into the regular season. But for now, it's Penn State's got a good amount of time until the season starts and to get used to all these new philosophies.
Yeah, I mean, I think you bring up a good point. I mean, that was kind of the first thing I thought about when you heard of the initial news of Rocco Beck, potentially being out for most of spring ball. Now we kind of know his fate now, but in that beginning, in that initial report, it's how is he going to get this chemistry? Obviously, he's had time now to throw in non-contact and things like that on air to his receivers, and gel together, and not just with the new guys, the returnees, even his Iowa State guys, another chance to gel together on another team, and that'll be a very important thing. I mean, I think that health is something that obviously it hurt Penn State last season. I mean, the whole season was over by the time Drew Lailah went down with his season-ending injury, but you deal with that. You deal with Tony Rojas being injured, Max Granville being injured. Penn State wasn't injured all across the board, but they had a few key injuries that definitely made an impact. So I think that'll be interesting. I think one more thing I kind of wanted to spotlight was, again, on the offensive line, and looking at Anthony Donko. I think that when you look at Anthony Donko and Cooper Cousins, they are the two glue guys. I would argue on the offense. You could say on the offensive line, but I would argue on the offense as a whole. Anthony Donko was a guy that came on strong as a freshman, dealt with some injury. He was, I believe, semifinals or somewhere in that range for the Freshman of the Year award. He obviously did not get it, but he's developed. We've seen him grow over the years. We've seen him get bigger, stronger, better. He's had some time inside. He's had some time outside. And they asked Ryan Clanton about that, and he's like, this guy is a tackle. You talk about long arms, long legs. Again, that kind of dog mentality. He's a guy that he thinks that NFL teams should draft as a tackle. I think he'll be a very important piece to watch kind of through this. He kind of also mentioned something about Anthony Donko ending up in his underwear doing workouts. That's it. That was all. He took everything off. That's all. I think he said he just came from school. I'm honestly blanking on how that story came up, but it was hilarious. I thought I had to mention it. Anthony Donko, he'll get it done, and I guess just about anything. Let's just hope that anything doesn't come during our practice availabilities. I think for the sake of practice observations and for our readership, I think he should keep the pads or shirt and everything on. Well, that's all we have for today. For more coverage, visit us at psufootblog.com and follow us on socials. Also, subscribe to our newsletter for content curated right to your inbox every Friday. Other than that, again, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for your support, and we'll see you next time.